Chris. I'll be back in a... Hi everyone, and welcome to the last transmission. Back for another Tuesday evening. A little bit of a hiatus last week. I went away for a couple of days, and it was actually nice to get out of this box room. How are you doing, Paul? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's going to have another warm few days, bit looks of it. We're going to have a bit of an heat wave again. I've just been listening to that, so we all need to get ready for it, don't we?
And great. I can hardly wait to sit sweltering for more hours in here. Looking forward to that.
It's got to be. I've just opened the door. I've just said to you 10 minutes since. I don't know whether I've done the right thing putting this on, but it's cooling down. But anyway, rambling. Great to see everybody, and I can see we're heading towards 100 people in chat. So thanks for support, guys, every week. And if you're new to Last Transmission, give us a like and subscribe. We appreciate that. And yeah, we've got quite a few in chat here, Chris. So we'll just have a look. We've got Rick Bennett, Paranormal Visitors. I've not seen you before, mate. Mag Sue, Mike Disabled Welshman, David Hunt, Martin Abbas. Good to see you, Martin.
I think that's Lee.
You what, mate?
Paranormal Visitors, is it Lee?
Lee, apologies. You changed your name, didn't you? I need to get my head around that one, don't I? I'm so used to the Rivington Pike Beast. But I've got to admit, that's better, isn't it? That's a better name. I like Paranormal Visitors. I think, anyway. Dragonborn. Lovely to see you, Dragonborn. Yep. And Ginge, Stargazer, Jojo, Pete. I think that might be Pete, who comes on Clifftops with us. Drew Hollings. I don't know if Linny's in, but if you are, good to see you, Linny, Mrs. Linny, Mia Girl, Stargazer. Let's have a look. And Robert Hilton, and we've got a drop line somewhere, guys. I'm sorry about that. And Tommy Limerick. There's a good name, isn't it? Yeah. And John Meakin. So I'm stopping. So where are we at today then, Chris? What we're going to do?
So, we're just going to cover... That was an interesting show you did on Sunday, wasn't it, with Mark Leaper about the triangles? And I think the triangles are obviously quite relevant. I think there's a lot of directions we can go in with the triangle. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, and then really, and it's something that a few channels do now. They'll reply to the comments they get, and I think it's quite a good idea actually. And not always positive comments. I think sometimes we do things, you and I do things when we're putting the videos up or in the documentaries, and we're doing it for a reason. I think sometimes people think we're doing things or not doing things, and we actually are. And we sometimes, you have to spoon feed the audience why you're doing something or why you're not doing something.
You're spot on there. And I'd not thought about talking about comments, to be honest with you, and highlighting some comments, good or bad. I tend to just leave them on unless they're abusive. I tend to just leave them, but even if they're negative towards me. But point in question, I mean, the guy on Sunday, Mark, he was great, weren't he? He'd come out with his information. He was so, it were almost like a cork coming off a bottle, because he'd had this massive experience in 2021 and he wanted to get it out there. He wanted to talk about it. And a few people said he were talking too fast, but he did best he could, and I dare say if he spoke about it again, say on here or on Truth Proof again, it'll slow the pace down, And that's I thought he were great. I thought it showed the passion of what he'd seen and experienced.
He's not always going to have the chance to talk to like-minded people about it. This is why we do what we do, I suppose, and why everybody in the chat probably tunes in every week, so they can be in the company where you can talk about this stuff. And Jesus, we talk about some really weird stuff.
Absolutely, like-minded people, isn't it? You know, like attracts like, and we kind of gravitate to it. And that's the thing about people in chat. There's 100 people just about in chat, and a lot of you won't have the same interests as some of the other people in chat, but you've got to make room for them and space, because their experiences or their interest, it's obviously touched them, whatever it is that you may be looking into. And you know, just because it's not your thing, don't make it any less real if it's affected somebody. And I like this, because very rarely, watch me just put my foot in it, very rarely do we sort of get people in chat who are there just to disregard and disrespect everybody. So that's good. Liam Wilkinson, good to see you, Liam. And Tony Worrell. So yeah, all good. But the triangles, it got me thinking, Chris, and you know, about all of the triangle sightings, and you know that, and they've not just gone on for, you know, for since 1990s. The triangle sightings and reports of triangles, I haven't got these in front of me, but apparently there's Roman texts and depicting, not talking about we've seen a black triangle, but they're describing something that in effect could be a black triangle. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and you're really in a tricky situation here, because I don't know whether there's a slight U-turn happening in this whistleblower field. It's just a sense I'm picking up, just because I read a lot of threads and a lot of comments, and because I just think you have to. How much, from your perspective, because you've been doing this a long time, what do you make of these whistleblowers?
Well, they're not. We've not really
in the broad picture, I mean.
Yeah, well, yeah, the people in general. I mean, the guys who've come out and spoke as in Congress and allegedly put their heads above the parapet, but they've not really come out with anything revelations in a way, have they? You know, they're talking about things, but then they can't talk about it, and it's all. I'm not saying that they're there and put in place just to, I don't know, make the goalposts a little bit wider or push the ball, kick the ball a little bit further down the field, but nothing seems to have happened, does it?
Well, the reason I bring it up is because, take the triangles as an example, and you just said, Danny, you know, we've got triangle sightings hundreds of years old.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
So it begs the question, whose are they? And I think Mark, the other night, that was a question that a lot of the audience were asking, Mark, what do you think this thing is? Because that's the age-old question. I think something about the triangular shape, isn't there?
Yeah.
About it. Is this a more modern, more military? Just because you're looking at you look at our previous stealth fighters, TR-3B, just being one of them. You look at those things and think, well, it's logical to jump to the conclusion that it's ours. That's sort of where you want to go. Then you bring in the whistleblowers that say, yeah, we built this, we built those, they're ours. You know, they're 40, 50 years old, these things. Which is why do we trust these whistleblowers? Because
do we trust what they're saying? I agree.
I mean, obviously, there's no evidence. You have got some paperwork to say that they've got the tech, so there is evidence there. But of course, it's the age-old question: where are the photographs? But people, it's a bit like the big cats, which we'll get to shortly, and in the comments thing, people are seeing them. People say, "Well, people aren't seeing." Well, people are seeing the triangles.
Yeah,
and is it? I can't remember Colin's name who saw the triangle. What's he called? Colin.
Oh gosh, yeah. Come on, help us in chat, people. Saunders. Colin Saunders.
That is an interesting sighting, because most people that are into this subject, certainly the triangle stuff and that follow the technology road, if you want to call it that, they would say that what he saw was definitely military or aerospace technology, because of the sort of the mechanisms that were visible, whereas the ET stuff, allegedly, or the interdimensional craft, don't tend to have any of that visible gubbins.
No visible propulsion, or what we could perceive as propulsion.
Pinnock tubes and all that kind of thing. So it is a real difficult, well, it's all difficult to discuss, but interesting to hear what you guys in chat think. I mean, I think this is a subject with the triangles that really divides people, because I think both... I want to get out a jail card free again. I think both could be true.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah, but you know, I mean, when you look at John Hansen with that huge archive of UFO material, And I draw on that one all the time. But he does have a report from 1901 of a black triangle. How far back do the people that want to say they're ours want to go when we were probably riding about on an horse and cart? You know, I think we've got them old cars that they just started building with wooden spoked wheels, and you know, but
well, you know what happens, Paul? The other card comes out and says, "Well, these craft can time travel.
Yeah,
they can travel dimensions, so it's ours. They're just nipping back in time." And if what you're reading in some of these technical reports is true, and then you tie it into what the modern physicists are saying, is it out of the is it off the table? I think you'd have to argue that nothing's off the table. So it's one of the reasons we love this subject, but it's all equally one of the reasons we bloody hate it. Because
do we? I said it a few weeks ago. Do we create in some way? And I don't mean we magic it up out of our minds, but the thought process and the concentrated effort to, you know, there's a brilliant guy talks to me. I've said it before, Rex. He's in UK. He's from Oklahoma, but you just need him on a live stream because the things that come out of his mind. And we were on about this only a few days ago, and he said, well, let's go to religions and mass prayer, and you get a vision of the Virgin Mary. Is it the human conscious effort that's creating that? Did she really come to them? I'm no disrespect to people of religion, by the way, but was it brought on by the power of human thought and not the fact that this celestial being wanted to present itself? And is it any different when people talk about summoning UFOs? And you get somebody, or you get a group of people, and the concentrated efforts of thought. I know this is not going down the triangle route, and we're slightly off tangent here. But what are your thoughts, people? You know, keep us. You know, let us know what you think. And are we wrong? You know, they're into wrong answer and they're into right answer because none of us know. You know, I have a feeling that a lot of answers that we're seeking will probably come at the other side of this life. As sad as that sounds.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Matt. I think that's one of the things, again, a little bit off tangent, but it's one of the things now that's becoming very prevalent in the subject. Near-death experience is tied into contact.
Absolutely, yeah. And you we've talked about triangles, and when you look at ritualistic things, there's a lot of triangle and symbolism. Look at a pentagram, and there's a lot of triangular symbolism in ritualistic practice. Do you know? And I think it's a triangle. If you don't know how far we're going to go with this, but if you wanted to summon a demon, it can be contained in a triangle. Why the triangle? I know that's not a flying triangle, but why the triangle? And how do you know these things, Paul? Not because I'm trying to do it, but when you're looking into lots and lots of things, bits of information fall in front of you, you know?
Yeah, I think there is something to be said about the shape, because it's the same with a ring, isn't it? They can be contained in a ring of salt and also a ring of iron, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Same as the gin in particular, I think, because that's what Solomon did. He bound the gin by the ring, didn't he? Allegedly.
Right.
And then had them build his temple. That's the story.
There are good things with triangles as well, though, isn't there? I love them little green triangles out at Quality Streets.
Oh yeah,
I love them.
What about Toblerone?
Toblerone, yeah. There you go, people. So
they might even be Toblerone. Hey, we've got onto chocolates. How have we done that? Anyway,
how have we done that? Because I'm a bit crazy when I talk about
right.
Things.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's while we're talking about triangles, let's stick this comment up, because this is a comment on a recent video we did. So this is from YouTuber Cuckoo Town 9478. I wrote about a huge triangle shaped UFO rising out of St. Ives Bay, the west of Cornwall, in my 2019 book, The Spirit of Cornwall, The Haunted Legacy. The witness had been on holiday and had got up early because he couldn't sleep. That's when he saw it. I also interviewed several people who had seen similar things around the Bude area of Cornwall. A friend of mine caught a genuine UFO on camera. So it just goes to show this. I think this came off the back of the craft that the witness that you took, you saw that craft coming out of the water.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. I mean, that were torpedo shapes, but this is good. And you know, over the water again. I'm assuming when he says in St Ives, and there's just no end to them. And this is, he says 2019 he wrote about it. Did it say when he saw it? Not that matters.
I think there's a little gentle plug in there with his book, so hinting, buy my book and you can find out, which is
all right. Buy my book and you can find out.
Fair enough, fair play. You can. We're again, guys. You're welcome to plug your stuff on here. No worries.
Absolutely, and you know, it was 1998, not a triangle, but I think it was diamond shaped. And one of the national newspapers reported, I'm not sure which paper it was, a battleship-sized UFO traveling over the North Sea and being pursued by jets. I think jets from Netherlands as well as UK jets. There may be people who've got knowledge of that one because that's just coming off the top of my head. But, you know, imagine that. I mean, unless it's all just spin, you know, a battleship-sized UFO traveling over the North Sea. I think it said 24,000 miles an hour. It did say. So
yeah, these giant craft have been witnessed many times. I mean, that is something. I mean, it just gets stranger because I think you could easily say that the smaller craft, to me, it makes sense that the small, certainly possibly the thing that Linney filmed on the cliffs, you know, and the boogosphere. I mean, yes, Stephen Gray is now showing interest in that because apparently there's some genuine science behind this. It would, to me, it looks like a drone. You could argue that, you could even argue, Paul, that the thing that we're going to feature in Beyond the Veil, and we interviewed the guys about the triangle that they saw, is that could potentially be a drone because, you know, but at the same time, it's sort of in that area of a small plane, isn't it? A small.
Are we talking? Yeah, when you're talking about the one we're featuring in Beyond the Veil, are you talking about Nigel Logan's?
Yeah.
Do you know? If it's man-made, we'll briefly tell people about this. We touched on it once before, but I can't remember year. Nigel might be, and he might tell us. Someone tells me it was 2017, 18, and he's doing the groundworks on the caravan site at Aldborough. He's sat on top of the on top of the cliffs, gentle slope down. They're only about 30 to 40 feet. It's clay. It's them that are eroding into the sea. If you've ever watched them on news. Sat with his workmate, they just look over, and then below the cliff, not above, below, between the sea and the cliff, there's the band of sand, and there's a triangle, and he said about the length, equilateral triangle of a caravan. So we're looking at 37 to 40 feet. It's one of these big static things, Teflon looking, and he couldn't really estimate how deep it was, you know, but he's looking down on top of it. But where it becomes interesting for me, the levels of military tech then and advancement, if this is one of ours, is that it vanished, it dematerialized. They're waving to a man further down so he could look at this thing. And as they're gesturing, this thing dematerialized. Yeah, if we've got that tech, why aren't we using it? Or are we using it and we're just not aware because we're just not meant to know? What are your thoughts, people?
I think it's interesting, technology-wise. I mean, I think there's something recently there's quite a few interviews going up about, is it Danny Jones, a guy recently been on Danny Jones' podcast talking about Apollo 11 and talking about tech and how Apollo 11 must have been a blag because they just literally did not have the technology to do it. Because Elon Musk talking about now how you need 8 rockets to refuel this thing to even get to the moon. So obviously there's no way they could have done it back then, which begs the question: if they are going in modern times or our modern times, I don't think they'd be using jet fuel. I think it's I just think it's crude. To be frank, I just don't think they'd be wasting the time when they've been working on anti-gravitic tech since, as far as like publicly known, since the 50s. They're talking 75 years. That's a look how far we've come in 75 years, and just with what we're seeing in the public arena, what are they doing behind the scenes? I mean, it must be mind blowing, and that's why, again, coming back to the whistleblowers, do we trust them? Even Bob Lazar.
Now, you're meaning, are they placed there and just feeding the public, feeding the ufologists, the people who are actively researching and looking for answers, but not in a position within the government to be able to speak out about it and just searching, getting the crumbs of information. Now we've been fed a lie. Who can say?
Well, there's a couple of sightings about craft that are what's the word? They're alive. These things, they're organic. Yeah. They're AI, but they're man-made. So they're utilizing. Apparently, they're utilizing part of back engineered tech.
Okay.
But they're built by black aerospace companies. And this guy, I think one of the witnesses, I think he's in one of Greer's docs. He talks about, he's a ex-military, and he talks about how he came upon it and touched it, and it purred.
Really?
This thing made like a purring noise, and just vibrated, just like it were alive. And it's got all this. It's almost got like a skin on it.
Almost. There used to be a sci-fi film called Farscape. I don't know whether it's still on, or Fairscape.
Yeah, I remember it. Farscape. Yeah.
It was a living craft, weren't it? And the pilot was sort of embodied into the craft, which were fascinating. A bit like Star Trek, a lot of the things that were of fantasy and fiction are now coming to fruition, so where they're getting these ideas from, and you've just mentioned that. There's a Studio 211. What are your thoughts on interstellar object that is approaching our galaxy, that is sending out radio signals in requisite patterns? I didn't know. Chris May.
Yeah, I've not looked into it, Andy. I heard about it. It's obviously quite. So all the YouTubers are making videos about this thing, and I don't know about the size of this thing, but there's a number of objects that have over the years. I mean, just look at that thing that was photographed by the sun, in giant spherical objects. It was absolutely enormous. I think there's been a couple of them caught by the Solar Observatory cameras. And then you've got, what's that the other big one? The other one by Avi Loeb. Is he the Harvard scientist?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's got a strange name. Is it Umar Amara? It's like a cigar-shaped asteroid.
Right.
But he's done some research on it, and he believes that this is actually a craft of some description. That's
coming our way. It's traveling.
Yeah.
Here's one, and this is totally opposite, but I don't know. I just wrote it down while we were talking there, and we'll get back to UFOs. But somebody might have some thoughts on this, because I've never heard anybody ask this before. So we talk about spirits and ghosts. Has anybody ever reported, to your knowledge, astronauts seeing ghosts in space? Weird one. Or spirit orbs or anything like that. There's one for people to ponder, because I've never heard of anything like that. And why would you? I suppose it's a sterile environment. It's not like somebody's front room where somebody's lived for the last 40 or 50 years, is it? But it's just a thought. Has anybody reported ghosts? There you go.
I know there's been reports. I know some of the astronauts have seen ETs on the craft.
Yeah. And anomalous lights are sort of approaching and around the craft. Yeah. And I don't know why ghosts come into my head, but there you go.
The whole Apollo things. We should get someone on it. I know a couple of guys that did quite a lot of investigation around the Apollo thing. It's really interesting, because you look at those three guys that allegedly went, and was it simply the fact that they didn't go, and that's what sort of made Neil Armstrong just become so reclusive? Is that he just couldn't put up with a lie? It seems.
Well, I guess we'll never know. But if we wanted somebody on, if you've got somebody in mind, that's good. Maybe get a few on, because I know Simon Lewis. We spoke to him years ago, and he's written 2 books about the moon and astronauts. The first one was called The Two-Faced Moon. And Simon would be a good guy to get on. While we're on with this, next week, because I know you guys had said you wanted somebody to talk about the Fae, and it is the 15th next week, I believe. So we got Jo Hickey Hall on, and she'll be talking about the Fae. We did say we'd try and get somebody to talk crop circles and similar phenomena. Who we got on week after, Chris, with the crop circles?
Mark Ollie, isn't it?
Mark Ollie, yeah. So
on crop circles.
On crop circles. So that should be interesting. Let's have a look. There was a sighting from Russian astronauts saying they saw a giant human-shaped craft. Human-shaped craft human shaped.
Does he mean
floating man? I'm sorry, Cap, but do you know what I mean? Yeah, but anyway, I kind of get it. At 500 foot, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, is that what Gary McKinnon saw? Is that what he saw? Are there our military or black ops stuff craft in space? I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, when they're advertising for staff for Space Force now, I mean, what's it all about? You know, allegedly we've got a police space now.
Really?
Who knew? Steve Collin, Russian cosmonauts reported angelic-looking beings. Yeah, that's right, Steve. Yeah, looking through their porthole. Yeah, I've seen that one. I think I've done that.
Imagine. Do you know? And you still don't know if you're being deceived by whatever it is, and it's I'm being as bad as people who are throwing curveballs and and presenting as something else, and we're all being deceived. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the internet is almost, in some ways, yes, it's brilliant and it's amazing and it's such an archive, but equally it's so easy to muddy the water. Just I think I mentioned it to you today. I'll have to watch it. I'm only part way through something Tony Merkel's doing about essentially about good and evil. It's because Tony's obviously a Christian, but it's really interesting talk about witnesses and a bit of magic and occultism in there.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it's Nathaniel's ballpark this, but I think this is probably one of the elements that we're missing out of this whole equation. That,
yeah,
I know now and then we touch on it, but I don't think it gets certainly not enough coverage.
But don't you think the I don't know what you guys in chat think, but don't you think that the modern way of living is closing us down from being in touch with this reality? And I really do, because we're too preoccupied with phones and TV. We're almost living our lives through TV soaps, or some people do. And it's all too easy. We don't have to go out anywhere. We can just order food in. Everything's designed just to contain us. And we're not only watching TV, we're glued to us phones. We're looking at everything that's dancing about on phone screen. You don't have time to think about the real, the actual reality of what's around us. And I'm not saying that's by design. That's just probably what people call progress. But that progress, you still find that a lot of people who have the UFO experience, who have the spiritual experience, the ghost experience, the cryptid experience, have it in isolated conditions, have it in times of contemplation, have it in these experiences when they're sleeping, or during the night, or when they're on a lonely road. I'm not saying 100%, but I bet you as a percentage, most of the paranormal stroke unexplained experiences take place in isolation, even if it's a group of people, when you're not sort of trapped by the trappings of the world.
Yeah, I think that's how we know that there definitely is a consciousness element to this. But equally, as you say, often the negative side of this phenomena gets bad press because it does these things in isolation and in secrecy and under the, in the darkness of the night. But equally, you could argue that those that are having positive experiences are also having them in very isolated circumstances.
Yeah.
When they're on their own, or this kind of thing.
As a group, but it's usually as a group of people that have gone to a location maybe that they think is active, or that they think is going to be quite tranquil to tap into what they want. So it's all about this, isn't it? It's all about the power of the mind and creating right conditions. I mean, what do you think? I mean, give us an idea of what you're thinking, people. You might think I'm talking a load of BS. I don't know. And that's your right. What I'm saying does not mean I'm right. These are just thoughts.
Yes, just as that's gone off, Rod, just to say, yeah, Gary McKinnon would be a great guest, but I think trying to get Gary McKinnon on a podcast would be very, very difficult, I would have thought. And I think if he was going to appear on one, I'd have thought he would have gone on one where they do offer decent money now.
Yeah.
Some of these big ones. I mean, we're talking thousands of pounds now. So
And he's
Gary.
potentially got a lot to share. And I wouldn't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to speak for the guy, but potentially, if he said something wrong, he might have a lot to lose.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know? So you'd have to be careful. Right. So Linny says, Paul, Chris, that SpaceX thing we saw, very odd, 12 minutes. So anybody who saw what we filmed during this sighting of the SpaceX, all the news outlets, not just in UK, were coming out with you could see it for several minutes. And we filmed it for 12 minutes. And there were so many people ringing me from all parts of UK whilst we were filming it, saying that they could see it. And we got 12 minutes of this thing. Now, I don't want everything to be a UFO or everything to be true unexplained phenomena. There's something not right about that. If you look at the intro to Truth Proof, you see that swirling mass. That's the SpaceX. That's what we filmed. But there's 12 minutes of that. But I've not seen any footage out there, Chris, with lights moving around inside it. And they're not passing stars. They're in with it as it's moving.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, it's look, we said it the other week, didn't we, about the whole, not just Elon Musk's lot, NASA are the same. All these companies are the same. The stuff, I mean, look, we're just not privy to that information.
No.
It's as simple as that, really. That's about as complex as it gets, really. And could argue, why would we be? But on the flip side of that, mate, is that when they're messing with, I don't know, the weather as an example, which they are openly now saying that is our business. And I think it should be talked about more publicly.
Absolutely. So where do you want to go now? Let's just stay with these triangles and until somebody throws something else at us. So we have the wave of triangles in. Oh, hold on a minute, Dragonborn. Do you think AI makes it difficult to tell the real stuff? Oh, absolutely, Dragonborn. Yeah. It muddies waters, doesn't it? And when you not just that, when you look at writing books and things like that, people who are good with the computer and probably have got their head around AI could probably turn a book out with a few tweaks and what have you in, I don't know, maybe days. Because
some of these kids are millionaires, Paul, now, turning books out and just smashing books out every day.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean they got ahead of the curve. They got on it early, and utilized it early, and they're just knocking books out for fun.
Really, because it'll literally write reams. It's spelt perfectly. It's syntactically right. Everything's kind of bang on with what it churns out. I mean, if you look at my spelling, you know what I mean. Thank God for spell check. But
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's. So yeah, the Belgian wave then, 89 to 90. That what sort of height of it, and why Belgium? Were they testing some kind of triangle craft out? Because I don't know if they're known for the high tech sort of military tech. Are they? The Belgians, and we're going back 35 years. And we've not seen any evidence of it yet out of Belgium and around those regions. Those famous photographs, weren't they, with the one with the red lights on each corner, I think the orange light in the middle, that people were getting photographs. The military were said to be seeing these things. So nobody seemed to know what they were. I mean, and I say it again, why Belgium? If they were ahead of the game, then they were ahead of America, weren't they? They were ahead of the UK and other superpowers. What do people think about what they'll call the Belgian wave? I mean, the Belgian Air Force apparently on more than one occasion sent out F-16s to intercept these triangles. So, or was it another nation testing their tech on the Belgian forces? Just, I don't know. I mean, has anybody ever looked into the policy did they have a policy of an unknown, like what they would consider a UFO, not to shoot?
Oh, yeah. I mean, possibly.
If they had go on, Chris.
Yeah, well, there was a question earlier about the Nimitz Tic Tac. Apparently, Ross Coulthard has it's been confirmed that this is made by what does it say? I think Lorraine's probably got this one. Where is it? I think it's made by Skunkworks, is it?
Right.
But
Okay.
back when it came out, I was working with Steve Miller at the time, and we were talking about it. It had this thing had pinnock tubes on it.
Mm.
So it had tubes coming out of it that apparently it uses for navigation.
Yeah.
So even back then, a lot of ufologists were saying that.
So yeah, but then again, there's a lot of people sold on the idea of this disclosure, and look at this, and look what we're showing the world, and it's now come out that it must have been, if we know now that it were all hype, and you knew then whether it were all hype, then these people who were talking about it in front of high-ranking government officials must have known what they were talking about when you think about it.
Well, I think the pilots chucked in at the deep end. I mean, they live a bit like us, I suppose. They are literally in their own bubble, especially these pilots. It's very, very serious job. So I would imagine that that's part of the compartmentalization, isn't it? They know only what they need to know. They're briefed by the higher ups, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, you do what you're told. That's basically their job.
And what year, not to put you on the spot, was the what do they call it? The Tic Tac UFO?
I think it's 2017 Tic Tac.
2017. Because I got a report, and I think we're going back to 1979 from the deep sea diver who teamed up with a Flamborough fisherman because he did not get any work offshore. I think I've told you this story, but it sounds remarkably like the Tic Tac, but it's 79. And there'd been heavy seas. He were diving and getting lobsters and crabs, which are sort of probably their playground on the seabed. You know what I mean? But he could just pick them up, put them in a net or whatever, and just drop them into a boat, come to surface. Heavy seas, water like sludge. Local fishermen said, there's going to be a load of mussels and winkles all washed up in this cove. I know where to go. And they went and got them. While they're sat, I'll shorten it because I've said it before. While they're sat having a break, beautiful clear day, there's a little cloud in the sky, just one little grey cloud that evaporated, and then there's a silver object. You're looking at it, it just literally dropped like a stone and stayed over at sea, inches over at sea, and stopped, and then accelerated away towards Filey. But he said within 5 or 10 minutes, 2 lightning aircraft came screaming overhead on him about 200 foot up, literally just tearing through the sky. So they obviously knew about it. Were that military tech, 1979? Or had they just picked something up on radar and said you'd need to go try and intercept? Who can say?
I think it might be worth looking. I don't know when Eisenhower did that famous speech that he did talking about the military-industrial complex, warning the public that there was this branching off. And that's pretty much when, if the breakaway, what Dolan calls the breakaway civilization, if that started back then, I think it's 50s, is it this?
I don't know.
I can't check it now, but whenever Eisenhower was the president, and then actually JFK gave a similar speech, didn't he? In when would that have been? 63, was it?
I'm going to take your word for it, Chris.
I'm terrible with dates. Anyway, but around that, what I'm saying is a long, long time ago. If this breakaway thing did happen, and military went one way, aerospace and these other things went in other private groups, super billionaires or whatever, you can sort of appreciate that there would have been, and there will be various factions at. I wouldn't say they're at war, but this space war, maybe this is what this is about. Have we got various factions, Earth-based factions, just for now, just worry about that, messing around with space.
Who wants to claim it? I mean, obviously, it's almost as though if a nation sticks a flag in it, it becomes theirs. We own this. This is our real estate now, and maybe areas of space are just like that. Maybe they can see the potential that we can't see. Maybe just propagating skies with satellites, and I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? But I mean, I do think there's true unknowns out there.
Could it be a bit like, if you look at it, if you look at Antarctica and the treaty that they've got in Antarctica, it's funny that they don't war and fight over Antarctica, do they? No. Ironically, it's the one place that they all agree. Obviously, there's a mass amount of UFO lore about that place, but equally, you can say the same about the moon. Yeah. Why are they not fighting over the moon? They're not. Well, I think there's some sort of treaty there, and it could be a treaty there for a number of reasons, couldn't it? But think about it. Again, out of the public's arena.
Yeah. And I don't know what you know about jumping from that. Is it Chris Bledsoe? Mm-hmm. And his book, The UFO of, is it UFO of God?
Yeah.
I think that's the book. I mean, we ought to reach out and see if he'd come on. I think there's a possibility that he would. But he's been talking to some really high-ranking government officials, and they're kind of taking him seriously. And as he made a prediction, didn't he make a prediction years ago that when Israel and Iran came into conflict, the aliens, the UFOs would arrive, and I think he's put some date out of 2026, hasn't he? Or might be 27. Yes, 26. Yeah. I mean, he's put his neck on line. We know there's a lot of people done that over years, and I don't necessarily think that they've all been lying. I think they might have been duped once again to just to show that there's nothing to this subject and it's all a load of bull. So we'll show something so spectacular, so incredible, so amazing that they're going to swallow this hook, line and sinker. Then we're going to tell them that we're going to arrive in this date, or tell them that the aliens are going to come in this date, and they're going to just throw this out all over the world. They're going to go to papers with it. Nothing happens. There you go, populace. It's all a load of BS. And that could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, the Bledsoe case as I think I said it a couple of weeks ago, it just divides opinion in a really big way, because it's probably what do you think? It's probably the biggest case since evidence-wise. And what's happened. I mean, it happened, I think it's 12 years ago now. And as you said, he's got very, very powerful people visiting his home. Yeah. Apparently witnessing the phenomena with him present.
With the names he's dropping, these people, I would have, or some of the names he's dropped, I would have thought that he's at least telling truth about the people that are visiting, and he's alleging that these things, like you've said, phenomena as manifested and appeared around him. So yeah, it's spectacular. We've got another one here. Oh, I love that thumbnail. The military definitely are involved. The question is why. Surely it can only be to weaponize and game. Everything's to weaponize, Rod. You're spot on. And that's the terrifying thing, isn't it? We'll not go down the road of war too much, but we're all frightened. At least I am. I'm frightened for my grandkids. You think to yourself, what's this world becoming? And everything, if we can find an edge, if we will exploit it and either weaponize it, eat it, take it and keep it. We just, that's the nature of the human. No matter, and here in the UK and all around the world, we're not exactly the perfect species, are we?
Far from it. Dean, is there any belief in Skinwalker Ranch and the triangle with the bubble?
You'll have to fill us in on this one, Chris, because I don't know.
I'm not sure. What are we talking? Dean, is this the one that they're firing the rockets at and they think there's a craft up in the atmosphere that's got the shield around it? I don't watch the series.
No, I don't see. So you might. I know they conduct a lot of experiments.
Yeah.
Obviously, not every episode, but what I'm saying is we see a lot of experiments that are conducted, and you're right. Didn't they fight? They did fire a rocket up, didn't they? And allegedly, it's a ceiling of something where there was nothing. But that's not probably what Dean's on about.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yes, that's it. He says.
Oh, okay. So we got Zeno in as well. Margaret Webster, Awake, Magsu, Beware the Moon, lads, Liam Wilkinson. We've got Steve Collins, or another name I saw earlier. Oh, Carl Dan's in, Dean. I see you, Dean. But thanks for support, guys. Well over 150 in chat. It's brilliant. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Going back to the Skinwalker thing, it's not that. I mean, it's not that I just not. I don't. You have to subscribe now, don't you? It's on Paramount.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I would watch it if I was a subscriber. I would watch it just because. I don't know. I am interested. There's no doubt about that. It's an interesting.
It caters for everything. It really is multi-phenomena that's been happening there, and I like the fact, even if we realise that not every episode, we go to an ad break where they're all screaming, and you come back and a cup of coffee's knocked over, and they've seen a little chink of light in the sky. But they've got to create something, otherwise it wouldn't be entertainment. But what I like about the actual location is it's been renowned for unexplained phenomena long before TV programs, so that it puts it on the map, doesn't it?
Well, you just made a nice segue there, Paul, into some of the comments, actually. So let me try and find an interesting comment that was shared with us. So a couple here. We'll start with this one. So John Mudd says, what is the point in putting up blurred photographs?
Clear as mud. What a name for this question, John Mudd.
So that was in relation to, obviously, the documentary that we put up where we can't show. I mean, this is what I'm not sure whether John appreciates this or whether he realizes this, but do you want to explain why we did that?
If we're putting photographs up on a platform such as YouTube, and we put them up in all their graphic detail, you would not be having a last transmission next week, I can assure you. And that's a fact. There's keywords, and you say keywords, and it's not this. They've not got somebody looking and typing it down and saying what is it? They've got a. And it will detect those words as quick as they've been said. Only the other day, and I'll not say what it is because Mark Leeper were absolutely great, and I loved his content. But he started talking about something at the beginning of the stream, and I just had to stop. I just said, "Well, no, we're going to talk about the triangles." I noticed in my comments, why did he interrupt him? Why is he interrupting him? Because we can't talk about that. And so you made a good point with that. It's not Chris, it's not Paul, it's not anybody who are doing these live streams. You're just limited in some things. Why do you think I say animal fatalities? The other word is frowned upon. I'm not trying to sound articulate and posh by saying animal fatalities. It's just that the actual word that we want to use is frowned upon. And if you overuse it, you'll pay the price.
Yeah, and also there is an element. I know we could have put a warning up, and some people do put it up. They just put it up, and often you'll see that there is a bit of a pattern here that the bigger channels, the million subscriber channels, often just do what they want.
Yeah,
and they get away with a lot more than your smaller channels would for obvious reasons. But I don't know whether it's necessarily everybody's cup of tea to see what happened to those animals up on the cliffs. Some people literally might not want to see that. However, if we're saying and putting out very bold statements about what's happened, and we've spoke to witnesses and met the witnesses, we've got to put something up. So, there was enough in the photograph to see that there's something wrong.
Yeah, and there isn't a right or a wrong answer, because as Chris has just pointed out, if we'd have made it a little bit more graphic, some people within the chat, some people who are viewing it online would have thought, Christ, I didn't want to see that.
Yeah,
you put that image in my head for, exactly. It's difficult, guys, isn't it? We're not bleating on about how hard it is for us, and some people are going to say, yeah, you are. But
well, no, it's not that it's hard. I'll be honest, mate. It's bloody annoying is what it is.
Yeah,
you're going through putting a lot of work and effort in for people just to talk a lot of shite, frankly.
Absolutely.
There's another one. Complete BS, not one carcass or any actual evidence.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know how anybody could have said that, because there were a lot, and there were a lot of evidence. We've not got evidence. I know you're not there, mate, to defend yourself, so no disrespect there, but we've not got evidence of what was doing it. We've got evidence of what had been done. loads and loads of it. And when when you say complete BS, like you're not the person that will walk in those fields at 4:30 in the morning trying to catch the perpetrators of whatever were doing it. And I wouldn't have minded if we'd have caught people. At least we've got an answer to what it is. But anyway.
Well, did the farmer think it would be asked, Paul, that lost his 50 sheep?
No, I think he lost 27 when I got involved in it. And it weren't 49, it weren't 51. He'd lost 50 when it just petered out in 2019. And he didn't think it were heartbreaking for him, because obviously, no matter what you think of the livestock, he looked after them. They were all vaccinated. They were fed well, and everything in that respect. Is no matter what you think of farming, livestock, but so he's losing money and he's losing his livestock, and they've not passed away in a humane manner. Let's put it that way. So no, it were horrendous for him, a horrendous time.
Yeah, I think there is an element. I mean, those comments are few and far between, but I think it is. If they are genuine and they're frustrated, well, we've just answered it. There's the answer to it. The flip side of that, mate, is that you do get arseholes, and that's the way.
He's not put it in capitals, die, but YouTube will ban your channel if you clearly show cattle fatalities. But you could upload uncensored stuff to another site and link it to. You could do. You
could. Yeah, I mean, is it Igmore that the people used to use a lot? It's a site called Igmore, photograph site, where you could do. And I think actually, Paul, we might have done that. At one stage years ago. Yeah. Sure, we did.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next one let's have a look where we at. So, comments about. We'll go to Andy's video, which was again. Why didn't if you haven't seen the video, guys, it is on the channel, and this is talking about a friend of ours, Andy, who was the ex-policeman that went on the stakeout of what Andy thought was
He thought it was a prowler, and
he
never ever, Chris, to my knowledge, said that he thought anything different.
No.
But he reported on the facts as he was told them and what he'd got to do, and they were staking out an area because the witness, as you know, had alleged that there was a werewolf visiting the property, and I call it bullshit. I mean, to say that that's just totally unfair, because I know this man personally, and I know you do, and there'll be people in chat do, and you won't find anybody more straight and level-headed than this man. And he didn't for 1 minute say that he was sat there waiting for a werewolf and I'd got a gun loaded with silver bullets.
No,
he just reported that that's what the nature of what they were looking into. And
Paul. I mean, the first comment is probably. What stood out to me is that why didn't the coppers inside go out? They did go out.
I mean, how do you know they didn't go out?
Yeah, that's just someone not listening to the story. Yeah. Of course they went out. When everybody went out into the fields later on, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, no, they took a dog out into the field. It lost the scent, but that's possible. That happens. And I think he always said that they thought it were the next village were a long way away, weren't it? Or the next property. You'll probably correct me, but I think the next property was quite a distance away, but they always thought it was somebody from that property, a young fella that took an interest in the daughter of the property. But strangely enough, when the dog picked up the scent, it was going opposite road to that property. It's interesting. I mean, the people in the property, the woman and her daughter were convinced that it was a werewolf due to the things that they were hearing and due to the tapping on the windows and all sorts of things. We're not trying to say it was, and I'll tell you now that the guy who told us about it just gave us the nature of what he'd been tasked to do. But his gut feeling was that it was a prowler.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Just get on to something that was quite interesting, Paul, about the big cat videos that we've been doing. And Ruin Temple said, interestingly, do you guys cover up the human scent that you're leaving on the cameras that you put out? Human scent may deter, and I think it's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know something, Ruins? And I'm going to hold my hand up and say, no, I don't. and you'll be right. You're on the money, because I do realize that, and we don't do trapping, but in other countries, the guys who put the traps out for the fur trappers, they don't want any human scent on them or anything. So you make a good point. But interestingly, where these things are being seen, there's a lot of human activity. You know, I mean, where this thing had been seen on the golf course at Danes Dyke, it was within feet of, you know, within 20, 30 feet of the people playing golf. I'm not defending myself. You make a good point, and it might be something to take note of in future.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing over in America and Canada, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Hiding the scent there out there.
Well, I got one. I got one.
As you said, Paul, those places will be less walked by the public. The place that you said,
this is the wilderness. You know, Canada, Alaska. This is the wilderness, isn't it? This is you know, anything that were alien in their environment, and I don't mean alien as in something from outer space, as in the scent of humans, would be avoided, wouldn't it, like the plague? But I think when you're walking around these locations and people are claiming to have seen them, that's not quite the same. But it is. You do make a good point. You know, I put some. I've got some in now, some audio recorders in certain areas, and I played a few sounds on Truth Proof a few weeks ago, where they'll record allegedly for 500 hours. Well, all I know is I'm leaving them all week, and they're still powering them when I turn them off. And so you're recording rainfall, you're recording dawn chorus, you're recording everything as it goes that's in the woodland. But what I noted, I think I'd got about four owls hooting, and then a sound like it could have been a shotgun or it could have been a door shutting. But it were after the owls every time. And there were people in comments there saying, what are you playing this audio for? But where do you draw a line? You've got to try and... I've put 2 out this week. I might pick up these ungodly sounds that people have heard in that location. And if I do, you guys are going to hear it. And do you know what? When I put them out, somebody's going to say, you've recorded that. Somebody said I'd done it on a synthesizer. just nuts.
I can just see you now.
Do you think I'm Howard Jones? You know what I mean? I'm going back there, aren't I, people?
I like Howard Jones. Anyway, next one.
Bigfoot and Dagman show. Good to see you. Gerald Thompson. We've done Zeno. We've done Ginge, Magsu, Dawn, Roland. And I'll say it one more time, guys. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done it already, give us a like and subscribe, please. We'd appreciate it.
So here's something interesting. Riz Fontaine says, so there's no evidence, no poop, no remains of kills, no fur on bushes or trees. If there's just one, then short of finding it when it's died of old age, there isn't much to look for. If there was more and they are breeding, they would be easy to find and seen everywhere. There's no food, no poop, not even a footprint. I believe they were wild at one point, but to think they have adapted and carry on living is just unbelievable.
Well, it's up to you, that Riz Fontaine, because it doesn't stop the people coming forward and saying that they've seen these things. It doesn't stop myself and Bob seeing one cross road several years ago.
No, you didn't.
No, well, there you go. I mean, there's plenty of...
Well, you see what I'm saying? It's look, there's not many people pretty as laid back as I am. I'm pretty chilled, but Riz, just sit and think about what you're saying. Like, just sit and think about it. There are hundreds of comments on our videos alone of witnesses saying, I have seen one. So it doesn't take, it's not a leap, Paul, is it? To go, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there is something in this. Now, I totally appreciate, and I know you do, that seeing is believing. I get it. I totally get it. But just stop talking crap.
Yeah, just closing people down.
Yeah, and it's unfair, isn't it? You know, to the witnesses that have seen these stuff, and we're trying to get people to come out, and you're getting comments like this. Now, most just bounce off most people. Usually, it'll bounce off you and I, but I'm putting it up here to demonstrate why people won't go on camera.
It's some of this is almost it's an insult to people who are telling you, because if they're being very truthful about what they're sharing, and like you said, there's hundreds of comments, especially on the big cat ones, where people have said, everybody, you're all UFO people, most of you, so you'll have all heard of Charles Holt, Colonel Holt, Rendlesham Forest fame, went into the forest and he saw the UFOs. Where am I going with this? I've exchanged quite a bit of correspondence with him over years. He's got a big cat sighting of his own. All right, Colonel Holt, maybe he's just lying then. I don't know. But he told me we're running alongside of his car. There's no big black cats in the area or in that state where he lives, but he saw it. And he's adamant that he saw it. I have no problems telling you guys in case anybody wanted to contact him and ask him, because you were okay with me talking about it before. But yeah, there's so many people, incredible people, that have seen these things.
And just to elevate that point here, we saw a sandy ginger coloured big cat with lynx-like tufts in its ears when we in Cornwall back in June, July of 2001. I mean, I won't go through it all, but guys, you guys probably read the comments anyway. But this is just one of dozens and hundreds of comments like this.
I can see a comment here but it's not in capitals, but I'll just read it. What about the spine in the tree? Let me just get to it because it's moving. Something put that up there, Paul, and you're spot on. That's Dave Barker. Dave lives fairly close to where I live, and he gets into similar areas. And let's just see what we do here. Let's just show it there. You look. And he informed me about the skeletal remains of a deer in a tree. And I went to where I thought he'd told me the first day. Dave will know this, and I spent hours looking for it. I couldn't find it. Any road, it'd give me a little bit more direction. We found it, and sure enough, it's in the tree. It's up in the tree. And we don't have to go into graphic detail, people, but there's a deer in a tree. And I think it might have been Dave's son that found it. I weren't sure, but can you find that again and remove that one, because I've lost it now. Oh God, I'm useless at this, aren't I? I'll put another question up. I say yeah. So yeah, deer in a tree. So what's that telling us? Because it took some finding, and it, I don't know. Maybe we're all wrong.
Yeah, another one.
There we go. Yeah.
In the Sanctum a couple of days ago, commented, my partner, I saw a large black cat and penguin with more Cornwall. Cornwall again, seems to be quite a hot spot, Cornwall. Many local people have seen it high in the rocky, inaccessible hilltops. So again, it's just, and actually, Paul, I'd meant to say we were contacted by the big cat group on Facebook, and we'll talk about that actually on next week's show. Very nice of them to get in touch with us. So yeah.
How many people see live badgers? We have plenty in this country. You're absolutely spot on. And we know we see urban fox, and they seem to be they're not tame as such, but they get used to being around people and scavenging. But how many people see badgers, or even common things like hedgehogs? You don't see a great deal, do you? But the lack of food. There's plenty of food. It's teeming with wildlife. Linny would tell you that. He gets all over the place. Right. Well,
we've got links near K-Star that are not to be there, that are not meant to be there. Everyone at the fishing pond has seen them. Yeah.
That's really make a brilliant point. We're sort of pushing this home just simply because of for the witnesses and some of the comments. It's not to sort of downplay your comments, but when you say a witness is talking BS, they're not all talking BS.
No, and I don't know whether that's happened. Look, idiots aside, because you're always going to get a small percentage of idiots no matter what you do. I think we should be discerning about what it is we believe, but let's. We are on this side of the fence, Paul. I think that's probably what it is. We want more witnesses. This is why we have to advocate that, and can't really condone.
The witness is kind of king, because without them, we haven't got a lot to talk about, have we? Do you know what I mean? Because there's only so much information that or things that we can see and experience. Robert Barker, love tonight's chat. Thanks, Robert. Appreciated. Dazza G. That's just a few. Well, we've done Paranormal Visitors. It's Yuli, innit? I got that one wrong, didn't I? But I like the name. But yep.
Paranormal Visitors, Chris. What are they getting out of it? If thousands of sightings, and what about the sightings in which people shut down? Yeah, and I think that goes. Who was it, Paul, that was setting up was it Stan Smith's mate, that's setting up that PTSD thing for unexplained?
It may have been, or the Scottish chap, the Mark. I can't remember. There's somebody setting some group up for people who've been or claim to have been touched by the phenomena, and it's left them traumatized. I mean, it's a good thing, you know.
Yeah, I know Amash did it years ago, but I don't know what happened. I think that was very specific about ET stuff. So image file. Right, let's have a look at this one. So let's have a look. Oh, this came up, and I have heard of this, but never really looked into it. Guys in the chat, can you help us out with this? Check out the story of the werewolves of World War II. Russian soldiers freed and armed the German POWs to help fight them off.
Well, I've not heard of that element, and I'll tell you who might know a little bit about that. Rick Allen. He seems to get all those little I don't know, bits of information. I did listen to Rick on a podcast. I don't listen to many, but he were on one last week, and I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. It's similar to the there's another. Is it Germany where they light that candle for the werewolf as well? The guy that turns into a werewolf, so they have to keep the candle lit. The urban myth is when the candle goes out, it returns or something like that.
No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know any of that. No.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me just remove that one, put the next one up, and this was interesting as well, Paul. Is it this one? Just the right one? Yeah, highly recommend the book. Yeah, just for you, mate. They highly recommend the book Invisible Residents by Ivan T. Sanderson, who goes into great detail of all these things seen over the decades coming out of the water. Having read all Paul's books and reports, the stories are very much the same. So I can definitely believe these accounts have been happening for years. Yeah, so just more craft and more witness of craft.
I think, you know, when people talk about, I did Coast to Coast on it's Sunday morning, 4 hours, talking about the alien abduction phenomena, but USOs came up as well, and I think there's more potential for the visitors, whatever you want to call them, to be actually residing below the oceans of the world or inside the Earth than coming from outer space. And
right. Yeah,
you know, they're definitely here. You know, I used to love it when people sort of started to cotton on to the fact that when you've got the skeptics saying, "Oh, well, you know, all the light years that they'd have to travel, and they can't possibly get here, and it's just impossible, and you know, everybody's just mistaken." And to me, you just crush the argument. They're here. We're not going to say they're coming light years. They're already here. I'm not a scientist, and I haven't got the know-how of how they're getting here. But you can't have all these tens of thousands of people seeing and experiencing, unless we're all having some kind of psychotic episode, for them not to be here. You know.
Yeah, I also think, Paul, I think it's just our lack of understanding the way our reality works in general. I think there's a lot more to it that's been.
I wonder.
Just hidden stuff, not just the hidden stuff. Sorry, just the way. Just look at we'll talk to Joe next week about the fair, but just that element of it, how it turned into something that was very, very. I would have said, it's turned into complete folklore now, hasn't it? And whereas at one time, it would have been considered very serious.
Yeah. I wonder, Chris, in 20, 30, 40 years' time, if there's still the surface of the Earth to stand on, and people with a vested interest in the subject, I wonder if they'll have cracked it. And I wonder if they'll look back at podcasts like this and Truth Proof and lots of others and think, look at these guys struggling with it. Look at these dinosaurs of researchers struggling with the phenomena, and if they'd have just done that, they would have opened that door, and it was as easy as that. You don't know, do you? We're just speculating, but I wonder how it'll be viewed because I'm thinking about it, how we would view ufologists from the 1940s and 50s, and everything, not everything, but a lot of it was something that you could touch. It was a structured craft with, almost like with rivets, and that's how they viewed it. And the occupants of the UFOs would come out in uniforms with a little rank on the shoulder, and that's kind of thing they talked about it in. And I look at that now and think they were not necessarily these people were lying, but were they shown something that were contemporary and fitted the sort of mindset of the people of that time? Because I do think it's evolving and changing all of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian McFadden saying, have we got the technology in theory to
drain the oceans? I'm not sure that we could do that, Ian. Christ, can you imagine pulling plug and just the world would explode if we put it into just magma and a molten below the earth? I don't know, mate. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you didn't mean that. I don't know.
Maybe I'm just talking here.
Question. Let's look at the next one. What's this? This one's called Shocking.
It's shocking. People even. Yeah, thanks.
I put that on because now and then I do read the comments and you do chuckle to yourself.
But why? I just think, just don't read them then. Don't consider crap like this. Don't watch. You watch something that suits you. I mean, and I can't possibly think that what you'd like, but obviously not crap like what we're putting out.
There was another one, Paul, and it said, calling me and you Vic and Bob.
Vic and Bob. Yeah, well, I think with me and Les had got a name. I can't think what it was, but they used to call me and Les something. I don't know. And anyway,
where is this? This is talking about the radiation that
radiation could be from 5G.
So I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know enough about the 5G thing.
Thank you, Warren.
Thanks, Warren. Really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much.
What's up, Bob? Hey, come on.
But I think that the Geiger counter that reading we had, Paul, was considered very, very dangerous. And again, I go back to whether or not, even though it wasn't as good as the one we use now, it was still a tube. I think at first people thought it was just a phone app. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's an actual tube that we're using.
Yeah.
And again, it can't just be a pure coincidence that in 4 days it registers in 2 places that were unexplained phenomena occurs.
Absolutely, and not only that. I mean, we haven't got that bit of footage to put up to show people, but we have done in past. It didn't last. There was no trace elements of it. Like a week later, it was so strange that it just seemed to be present when we went one particular time. And I said to Chris, "This is where I found the deer." And obviously that had gone by then, but it had not been gone long. It had been sort of removed, but it just went off the scale. The Geiger counter, didn't it?
Yeah. It were well. You can hear me. I'm sort of like, what's going on here? Because we were genuine. That was genuine. We were genuinely shocked that was happening at the time, and we don't know what caused it. And it hadn't happened since. So, because you got that with you quite a lot of the time now, haven't you? The Geiger counter. I
have, yeah, and we try all sorts. So, Paul, it was George and Mildred. Oh, right, thanks, Linny. That's good.
Who was Mildred?
Well, I'll be Mildred. I'm not bothered. It don't matter. But it looks quite good, and that's coming from Town Crier. That Linny.
Danny McGuitar T. Absolutely sick to death of AI imagery. It's awful and instantly makes me want to turn off.
Yeah.
Go on.
I can kind of get it, Danny, but if you're looking for somebody's described a UFO, for instance, look at the shot that I sent to Chris recently, and Chris put some imagery around it of the object that rose from the water like a cigar-shaped object, that water running off it. It's AI. We haven't got the UFO. So, but I get what you're saying, but there's no way of avoiding it. But what you've got to do is paint a picture for the people who are watching it, and that paints as good a picture or as close a picture, unless you're going to get the real thing, and they're not going to come back to show us again.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I think for the most part, I think people kind of understand why we do it and what we're trying to do. As you said, sometimes a story, sometimes actually, Paul, and this has happened quite a few times to you and I, we've covered a story, we've interviewed someone, and they're just not doing the story justice.
So you can add paint a few images into it, if kind of thing, and just it's not beefing up the story. You're not lying, but you're just giving a bit more juice. When I did for Truth Proof, when I did the big cats, where the golfers saw the big cats in Danesdyke, or big cat in Danesdyke, I got some AI images of big cats, and I didn't really know which direction we were going with this tonight, but I know one at comments, and I think it's still on. He's really peed off this guy because he said it's AI. It's not even a real cat. Well, no, it's not, because he didn't have any pictures of it. Do you know what I mean? But I had to produce something to show where it was in relation to where they were stood. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Hey ho. All right. Let's have a look. Is there any more? I don't know whether that might be it, Paul, to be honest.
Well, okay, so let's just
what's this last one? There's another one here. Talking about the sheep incidents, and he's talking about feral dogs will do
feral
that.
Dogs will, yeah, okay, yeah. So I know you're not here to defend yourself, because these are questions that have been on. It says 6 days ago, but that could have been 6 months ago. But do you know, when I got involved with the sheep fatalities back in 2017, I brought up around farms and everything, mainly cattle, but I knew very little about sheep. Not a farmer, by the way, bro. Just brought up in a little village where there were a lot of farming community. But time I'd done in 2019, I knew quite a lot about sheep. And the farmer, there was one instance, he rang me up, and he Sunday afternoon, he says, "Have you got a couple of hours to spare?" I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "I want to show you what a dog does. We'll not go into graphic details." He says, "But I want to show you what a dog does." And we drove to Speeton, and we parked in the churchyard, and he had some sheep on the hill at Speeton, and a dog had killed 3. And these poor animals, let's just say there were marks all over them where the dog had just chased, took hold, it had got away, it had come out with a load of whatever it's got in its mouth, and then it would do it again and do it again until this thing just collapsed. And there's a difference to what we were looking at in these other fields. When you're looking at ears as crisp and as clean as a scalpel removed, and other things, that's as detailed as I want to go. There's difference, but I got to know the difference. Not to become an expert sheep farmer, because I wasn't, but I did get. He actually made a point of telling me, and as we walked down the hill, because this guy says to me, he used to live in Speeton, and he said, "This is called Killer Hill." And I thought, "Oh, this is interesting. Why is it called Killer Hill?" And he said, and I asked him why, and he said, "Because it's an effing killer to walk back up. It was steep as oh, you know what I mean?" So, yeah, and as kids, that's what they'd call it. It was known as Killer Hill. Lovely guy as well, lovely man.
Incidentally, I walked up a Killer Hill the other day. So Jerry Jerry, he's a good friend of ours, Jerry Denning. He wanted to take our cat that we've got. He was at our house at the weekend. He wouldn't leave him alone. He wanted to take it. That's why he's saying Chris has got a big cat. He wouldn't leave this cat alone. And our cat is quite big. And the cats do get quite big, but they're not they're not the size of these big cats that are. Obviously, they're a little bit smaller in Europe anyway, I would have said. But they're certainly not the size of a domestic cat anyway, are they? Let's put it that way.
What's the big one? The Maine Coon. That's a big.
Yeah, the Maine Coon. That's the one. Yeah. Huge things. Yeah,
absolutely.
Lorraine, do you want to put the next question up for us, please?
And I just want to ask, I'll just throw it out before we read that. Any views on Phoenix Lights, people? 1997. Well, that man-made. Obviously not a triangle, huge V shape of lights, because it's similar to what was seen 2014, I believe, at Hummonby. But I'm not talking about the Hummonby incident. I'm talking about something else.
Gerald Thompson, Paul and Chris, have you taken a compass reading whilst on the cliff tops, and what results did you get? And like, that's something you've been looking at, isn't it? Using GPS.
Yeah, well, the GPS, Gerald, I've recently just re-enabled mine because eldest daughter kept telling me everywhere where I was, because you've obviously got to, with your GPS, you've got your bearings. But Ian uses the GPS on his phone, so does Jeremy. Different apps, and they don't malfunction usually. Jeremy travels about an hour to get to us 2 or 3 times a week. No problems. He travels all over with work, no problems. Gets onto the cliff tops, and I don't mean every night, but on rare occasions, he's been out at sea. He's been 5 miles down coast, and it'll show loads and loads of journeys. When we just park up and we walk and we stay in one spot, usually, Lenny's has shown him going over land, whether we've gone as a collective or whenever he's gone on his own, but he's never moved. Lots and lots of different malfunctions and what you would call basically anomalies involving compass type anomalies. We have taken compasses up there, big ones, and left them. We've not seen any fluctuation or any movement in them. So if that's where you're going with that one, so I don't know, it's difficult.
PW 4534. Have people been unalived, kidnapped, or put in mental asylums by cryptids in the UK, and the government are covering that up? No. Well,
I don't know. I don't know. Some of the things that people have seen and experienced have certainly mixed them up and traumatized them. Let's put it that way. And to a point where I don't mean they're incoherent, but they're not making lots. Oh, thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
They're not making a lot of sense, and I don't know whether that works in favour of a cover up, because nobody's going to believe them. Who's going to believe anybody that's saying they've seen these things? But and there's other side of the coin as well. In there, some people are just talking absolute rubbish. Not everything's UFO related. Not everything's cryptid related. We've all seen pictures where they've shown a family of dogmen and cubs in a little edge bottom, and you look at the leaves and they're as big as the creatures that they're showing you are these alleged creatures. And that's difficult to get your head around, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of this phenomena that is, it's all hard to believe when you think about it. I know we just rolls off the tongue now because we're just so used to it. We've just become accustomed to it, and you've experienced it. You've seen it with your own eyes.
I've seen stuff. I've seen stuff that I'm not happy about seeing. Mick Park. Right, evening, lads. What are your thoughts on Ross Coulthard's statement saying the Nimitz Tic Tac is actually from Skunkworks? Yeah, we talked about it earlier, Mick. He's actually confirmed this. Go on, Chris. Just to go over it again.
Yeah, I just think certainly a lot of ufologists I know said that at the time, just because of the description of it. But equally, I think it's not to say that, is it Fravor? David Fravor was one of the pilots, wasn't he? I think it's not to say that he knew. I don't think he did know. I think that's, again, we're going back to the whole drone situation that's been happening for the last 6 months. They're not aware. There'll be elements of things that they are aware of, but they're certainly not aware of the bigger picture, are they? I mean, God, look at what happened is it Colares in Brazil, where they were firing bloody lasers down at the villagers, and they were in hospital, and there's still some of them alive today with the scars. That happened, and the military there did not know what that was about. I mean, what was it about? Was it some sort of trial being tested out there on a small island where they're not going to draw the attention of the wider public?
It could have been. Knows? But I get where Mick's going with that one, though. Well, I don't know where he's going with it, but my thoughts are that some of the people who were raving about the Tic Tac UFO and it being the part of disclosure, and look, we've got evidence of some otherworldly craft. I think those people must have known. If ufologists who haven't got the hand on the or the finger on the pulse as much as some of these people who stood there talking to high-ranking officials, I know you've just said they probably didn't know. I think some of these people must have known, which leads us in the direction of is it just another way of bamboozling us a little bit more and just kicking ball a little bit further downfield to leave us all chasing about? And now we're having this discussion today saying, well, it's just come out, hasn't it? It's one of ours. Yet we talked about it as though it was the genuine, real deal during these discussions on disclosure.
Well, they'll argue now that disclosure is not just about the disclosure of NHI. It's about the disclosure of black aerospace companies doing things that they shouldn't have done. That's part, which probably true, really, because it's all part of the disclosure, isn't it? In fact, that's a massive part of it, because their role in this is keeping that stuff secret from us. So I guess that is part of disclosure. So at least it's come out now. I mean, you know, for the wider public to get their head around. Steve Collin, Ripperstone Farm in Wales, I think, is the closest we have to our own Skinwalker. Maybe. I'm
not sure. I've read the book. It's one of the few books I've read, and it is interesting. You know, it is interesting.
Ian McFadden, Steve Merris makes a good point about space being very quiet. Any ideas, guys? I think, Steve says that in relation to the ET hypothesis. And if you factor in how many sightings are taken every year, it doesn't reflect what's being seen in space, because it would be heaving. That's not to say we would find out.
No.
They would still have to appear in the atmosphere, wouldn't they? I suppose that's what Steve's point is. So it doesn't reflect.
The guy we were talking about a few weeks ago, who was a friend of mine, John L. Watson. Watson's. He's been taking daylight footage, which is what we should all do if we've got a thermal camera, of aircraft, and then finding heat signatures close to the aircraft and things like spheres and other heat signatures, which is. Well, it's fascinating that these things are around us and we're not being able to see them, unless we've got the right tech.
Yeah, I mean, I just imagine that must have, I think if you had the right tech, if everybody had even just basic stuff that we had, you would see a lot more than we do now, and it would beg the question: what the hell is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just realised this chat hasn't been scrolling down, guys. So there is quite a. We've got Zeno's got a question there. I don't know whether that's going to go up shortly, but and Jerry Denning's in. Good to see you, Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Questions in capitals, Jerry.
I don't know if Jerry can spell. Can he?
Rod. Any reason why the Penturk incident is not discussed anymore?
Do you know, Rod? I don't know whether it is or it isn't. I don't know. I mean, there's another one. If you've got, I am in contact with Kaz Clark. So if anybody wanted us to try and get Kaz Clark on and talk about Penturk, I can do that. She's passionate about what she saw. She's passionate about what she experienced. So, it's her truth, and you guys, you might enjoy listening to what she's got to share.
Yeah, for me, Paul, I'm just really interested. I do read quite a lot of disparaging stuff about Penturk, but I'm yet to be shown any evidence as to why that is. I've not seen anybody really refute what she's kind of saying properly. That's not to say
it's difficult, though, isn't it? And I'm not refuting it. I'm looking at my own work with Wilsthorpe and Hummonby. It'd be hard to refute because there's not a lot of people know about it apart from those involved. Hummonby, Andy, Nick, Dave, the boss, I all know about it. But outside of that, there's not a lot of people know about Hummonby. I'm not praying, but I'm sort of really hoping one day more people are going to come forward. But that's difficult. And if she's experienced this and this incredible UFO event, and there's not been many people other than herself experience and see it, then, you know, how can you refute it? You know, if somebody's not been stood in the back garden or stood somewhere and gone, well, that was a military exercise, and I've come forward and I'm saying that what military, and this is what happened, and that's what happened. I know it was an alleged military exercise, but yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I ain't got a view either way, really, but, you know, she seems very genuine to me.
Jerry's saying many say St. Peter was the first pope. He was also supposed to be a werewolf, often depicted as one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I've seen the paintings where he's depicted as a dog-headed man, so it's interesting. I don't know, Jerry.
Well, it's the same as St. Christopher, isn't it?
Yeah, is it just some artist who's just, I don't know, a little bit out there? Because, you know,
I think with St. Christopher, it was supposed to be allegorical about him turning to Christianity, and sort of like the beast had been tamed, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the
depiction. Yeah,
that's the way. I'm sure I read something like that about it. But I think there's a lot more to it. From what I understand, there's a lot more to it. Zeno, I think disclosure can't be directly given without us finding out what reality actually is because of it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and again, another reason. Well, it's another one of those dominoes that cannot fall over. You cannot. All those dominoes, not one of them will go over. I mean, recently, I'm not going to say the name of the files, but they said they had the files. They were going to release the files, and now the big files that everybody's talking about for 4 years or whatever long it is are not going to be released, and they never had them in the first place. The list. Yeah. I mean, that just if you want gaslighting, there it is, right in front of your face. So
yeah, absolutely. Just before you go on, you got this question: the Cornish truth seeker. I saw a large black leopard a few years ago while I was sitting in traffic in my HGV on the motorway near Bristol. It was in the lane, very close to the fence line. Yeah, there you go, 100% real. And Cornish, that must kind of, I don't mean hurt you. I know you're not that delicate, but if you'd have come forward and you tell us that, and then, I don't know, let's assume that you come on the live stream and spend half an hour talking about it, and then you read it afterwards and somebody says, oh, you're talking a lot. It's as good as calling you a liar. And I'm not calling you that, by the way, because I believe that people are seeing these things. And that's the reason Chris has put these questions up tonight, not to defend ourselves, in actual fact, to defend the good people that are coming forward and sharing information.
Yeah, totally.
Somebody, Mark CBD, please do get Kaz on the show. Okay, we'll look at that one.
Dean is saying, have you lads thought about filming the IR? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
IR spectrum, thermal. You know, we're trying to give everything a go. Do you know? Before we get to a question, I've been asked loads of times. There's a little camera that's quite inexpensive that we think, especially in night vision, is as good as the Psionics. Now, I've had loads of people asking me, which camera is it? Which camera is it? And I recommended it to somebody in chat, right? And unfortunately, this person purchased one and it were damaged and they lost their money. So I didn't want, they're still in chat. They're in chat tonight. I didn't want to put the address out of these cameras and then me take a load of flack saying, oh, they're all damaged. Incidentally, I bought one myself since, and I bought 2 more last night. One for Pete and one for myself. Pete's paying for his, and I ordered 2 more. I think it was just unfortunate that one came damaged. I think Linny's bought 3. Why have we bought so many? Because we're every time we go, because they're so inexpensive, we're going to set them up on brackets and just let them film. They'll film for an hour and a half on one battery. And we're just going to let them film because a lot of the things that we're seeing, they're over and done with as fast as we've all gone. Christ, did you see that? When suddenly a light just morphs into existence and disappears. If we've got these filming a 360, that's the idea. So I know that we didn't intend getting on about them cameras, but I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, can you give me a link to this camera? And I really did hold back after recommending it to a good friend, and it weren't good when they got it.
Mark DB saying Laura Rawton did from Paranormal Scholar did a brilliant video with Kaz. She would be another very good guest. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, I don't think we're not short of guests, are we? I thought in some respects, I think for a lot of the time we're juggling both our time.
It's some time.
Weeks, some weeks we don't know, do we, whether we're going to be free.
It really is time. When you guys, I don't want to bore you with this, but if you get a guest on, then you've got to spend a bit of time just finding out about their work and what you're going to ask them, and you want to challenge them on some things in a nice way, and it's all that's time.
Yeah, I think there's another one. I think this is meant to be a question. Sorry, Lauren, I'll just stick that up. Paul, I think you have actually talked to extraterrestrials, the man with the bike and that odd old couple.
Yeah. The man on the bike, I don't know what he was. We talked about him on Bringing Down the Light, but I'll tell you what's interesting, and I don't know whether if he watches this, contact me tomorrow and see whether allow me to use picture. And I'm not going to say too much, but I'm not even going to say your name. There's a man took a picture of somebody that is quite high profile researcher, and he gets incredible images, and he's been followed by someone and managed to obtain an image. And I contacted him in week. He sent me an image. I said, that just looks like the man who were at the bottom of our street.
Really?
It really does. It's only just come into my head that now it looks like him. Yeah, and I did tell him that, and I got his phone number, but he just banged his phone number in message straight away for me to ring him, and I hadn't had time, but I will do. I'll do it in the next day or so.
That could be interesting, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you already know what I'm talking about, but I haven't told anybody. So, and I haven't told anybody on here, have I, who it is? But that's the point. Laura wrote, "Oh, you've done that." So, where we're going now, and nobody's commented on what you thought the Phoenix lights were. Is it man-made? Is it were a monster sighting? And I'm interested in, even though it's 1997, I still think there's mileage in a lot of these historic cases. But
it's really interesting that a lot of these big cases, particularly the Phoenix lights, a lot of researchers think that these were genuine attempts by let's just say NHI, because there's probably a better word than aliens these days, because we don't know they're aliens.
To make contact.
Yeah, they think these are genuine attempts, and again, this is something else I'm reading about, but I've not seen any evidence about it. Is these Anunnaki transmissions? There's a lot of people talking about that in certain towns and cities, people are receiving messages or getting news on the phones and recordings on the phones from elsewhere,
right?
In some sort of contact thing, very similar to what happened in. When did that happen? What was
the TV broadcast you're on about, aren't you?
Yeah. Was it 70s? That
I don't know when it was, but I knew where you were going with. It came into my head as you were talking about that. Then,
yeah, and a lot of people think that that's genuine. So they think that some of these bigger events that people that we can remember are actually genuine attempts at waking up the public. Now, from what I understand, I'm doing some work at the moment with some starseed stuff. These are people that think that they remember past lives, and they remember or they've had contact with NHIs from various star systems or whatever. Again, it all sounds very out there, but equally, it's again, is it off the table? Is it any more incredulous than a grey alien in your bedroom? I mean, it's because or a reptilian in a military base at the bottom of your bed. I mean, again, where's the line? We say it every week. Where's the line? Ian McFadden, lads, any idea on the Boogosphere? Personally, I think the writing
is on the
ball.
I've got not a lot of knowledge on it, Ian, so I can't really comment.
Well, I did something on the Boogosphere a few weeks ago, and there was allegedly some kind of loose connection to a British crop circle.
Okay.
Yeah, they were trying to say that it was the 19, what's he called? Carl Sagan. They put that signal out, didn't they?
Yeah,
they
Carl Sagan,
out. The crop circle was a response to it, allegedly. And then in this response, this symbol talks about an alien type of satellite aerial
drone type. Yeah.
Well, it's they reckon it reflects an ET, the equivalent of our radio satellites. That's what they say, and they reckon this is on the Boogosphere. But allegedly now that they think that this Boogosphere is some sort of drone, miniature sort of recon drone. It's got lots of sensors inside of it, and what's it called?
I don't know.
Optic fiber cameras and sensors and that.
Fiber optic cameras. Yeah,
fiber optic, which allegedly, again, people in ufology will argue that tech is back engineered. So who knows?
Well, when you just before we get to Jerry's question, when you think about what Linny managed to film on cliff tops, that sphere. And that was in close proximity to us. And for anybody that says, "Where's your evidence, guys?" There's evidence there. You've seen that. Well, you've seen a bit of that footage, and we put a bit out. But were that military? Are they testing something? Thinking, well, I'll tell you what. There's a bunch of fellas who will go up there, and they spend all the time observing and trying to capture evidence. Let's see if they can get any footage of this. I'm happy if it's military. If you know what I mean, we did get evidence of something. Incidentally, 6 months before, or maybe 9 months before, I'd filmed that huge gold sphere in a very same place on thermal. I don't know if you remember that one as well, when Tom Waters were up with us as well that particular night.
Yeah, so, I don't think you said you were going to send me it, and I've not seen it yet.
I'll have to. Amongst my skip full of information on internet, it just looks like. It looks like an elephant's toilet, my computer. I'm sorry for saying it like that.
I have seen his desktop as well.
Why'd you do that? She's laughing her head off here. Don't do that. She just, anyway.
Right. Sorry, Jerry Denning. Now, guys, they can now use your home Wi-Fi to see inside your home in 3D and through walls. This is done by complex analysis of Wi-Fi RF displacement. Maybe that's the next way to see these things. Possibly, yeah. If you can get the tech
Jerry, that's interesting. Well, it is. It's interesting. It's kind of way above my head. We need to get you on here, Jerry, to talk about some of these things. We need to get you on here, Jerry, to talk about the lights you saw at Bempton and why they were different. Because, you know, I mean, me and Jerry have a good laugh and we're all sort of ribbing each other when we see each other. But his technical know-how and the things that Jerry understands the ins and outs of is far above what I know. And I'd love you to come on and share some of that information, Jerry.
Andy's brother's seen that Anubis experience as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, just give us a yes, Jerry, in chat. Not 2 letters, 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, go on then.
I think. I think there's one there from Tony. Paul, have you found any sightings of UFOs or strange ones from
World War II in your area? There are sightings, there are reports out there. Yeah. Funnily enough, though, Tony, a lot of them are, because I know you said World War II. Funnily enough, a lot of the sightings, there seems to be a cluster of them after the war. But I wonder if that's because people were more preoccupied with surviving and concentrating on the events of the world. And you know, I'm not making excuses, but there are reports from World War II, yes, but I note that just after the war and into the early 50s, there's a lot of reports. I'm fascinating all the airship reports in the 1909 and things. But the characteristics of these things, and even the Bridlington archive has lots of reports and what they consider detailed drawings, are actually sketches of these things, saying how fast they went when people were observing them, a single light that's beaming down. And when they get under observation, these things just go away at incredible speed, which does not sound like an airship. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting, the wave of the airships. I mean, that's something that we ought to talk about one week, because there might be people in here that are not even aware of the airship wave and these things that were being reported in early 1900s and the late 1800s.
Yeah, for sure. John Doe, in medieval times, clergy were depicted having dog, fox, or wolf heads. It was not too flattering comment on how they were perceived. Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
I bet it weren't flattering for them, but I wonder why. That's the thing, John, isn't it? That's the thing. Why were they depicted, a little bit of a grain of truth of something in there? That's Dean. Most people know someone or a friend that's had some kind of paranormal experience, or put it lightly. I know where you're going with that one, Dean. Unexplained experience. Yes, spot on. I mean, the people that have had the experiences come out there a lot of the times, and they'll tell their close friends, and that's how it filters through to such as ourselves and you guys in chat. But yeah, if you it's like a spider's web, and if you just sort of tap on it a little bit, you'll find that one of your relatives, one of your friends, they know something, they've experienced something. Even them that say I don't believe in it, and they'll go, but however, I was driving home and this did happen. You think, yeah, you don't believe in this, do you?
Yeah, that happens all too often, doesn't it? Jerry's saying we could come up to Bempton with the 3D cameras. Yeah, Jerry and I have got I know you know this, Paul, but we've just started a 3D company that we film stereoscopic. We do stereoscopic production. So if you've got a business and you're out there,
I was just going to say, just put that out, Chris, what you're about, because that's important, isn't it? Because you've invested a lot of time, a lot of money on this equipment. So tell us about it.
Yeah, well, we're a new business, so we do, obviously Jerry and I are in production anyway, media production and documentaries and you name it. But we're moving into stereoscopic now. People think Avatar. That's basically what you're dealing with. Jaws 3D Avatar. And people probably wondering why, and it's because there's going to be that's where the tech is going. There's going to be a massive surge in this 3D media now coming. It's coming, and there's a lot of money behind the scenes being invested in this. All the big media companies and Apple, Meta, they're all putting all the money. They're investing a lot of money into this because these things, the phones, they're soon about to be a thing of the past. We're all about to be wearing glasses and looking and watching things in stereo, and you got a message, boop, and they won't be your big thick rimmed glasses. They're going to be very. You won't even see these things. They'll be almost see through. You won't even see them. It's that advanced, the tech. But that's where it's going now. It's not that we at the moment you watch the tech on VR headsets and everything, but at Skinwalker they were using 3D cameras up there because of the two lenses. I think Jerry's the guy to speak to why they were using them. I think Jerry once did a ghost hunt. He did a production where they were doing some ghost hunting, and he was using a 3D camera, I think. And he was able to say that these were dust particles because it would appear in one lens and not in the other. Does that make sense? Because you used two cameras. So I think the guys at Skinwalker were using 3D cameras to detect phenomena. So that might be something that we can do.
That's
but if you do have a business and you want something produced in stereo, by all means, get in touch.
Get in touch. Obviously, your email is that out there? Have we got that in description anywhere?
No, I thought I should put it in there. It's christurnervfx@gmail.com, or just drop a comment in, and I'll find.
I method in my madness saying talk about it. So if you want to buy the Truth Proof books, truthproof.uk, just truthproof.uk for the paperbacks. And if they want to go overseas, use the eBay link, then it's global shipping. And if you want to look at the Wolflands DVD, what myself and Les made, that's on Amazon Prime, or you can buy an hard copy via truthproof.uk. Truthproof.uk also for your UFO reports, your UFO sightings. We just welcome them. It's brilliant when we're just trying to get an archive of original reports. Thank you.
Rod is saying maybe the eyes of the greys are the lens and the tech of the future. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it on here about Paula Green and what she said about that.
Are you reading my mind? I was just thinking the same thing, because she talked about the lens, didn't she?
Yeah, I'd never heard it when she said it. Jerry was there with me, and we filmed that interview.
Yeah,
and she said it, and I just thought, I have never heard that anyone say that before, and it just sort of made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And after I'd heard it, I think probably a few months after I'd heard it, someone else said something very similar about it. So fascinating, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sophia, me and my mum experienced auditory phenomena together. We heard a man's voice, but there is no one in the vicinity. But she doesn't like to talk about it. It happened to me while on my own too.
It's Sophia, isn't that frightening? It really is. And I could imagine it, you know, how frightening it would be for a man or a woman on their own. I got a report a few years ago from a lady. She said she'd hit on hard times. She was just in a flat, cold, dull, dingy flat with her young child. And she said she'd made him a bottle of cocoa, hot chocolate. And just feeling miserable, not a good person, but just not having a great time of things. She says, and something out of the ether just started speaking to her. Everything's going to be okay. You will be. She said, and I shocked the life out of her. Now, I should imagine that probably wouldn't have been a frightening experience because it's positive. But unlike the ones in Dane's Dyke where the people have literally heard on their shoulder a growl and there's been nothing there, Well, it's frightening, isn't it, to think that there's things around us all of the time. Liam Wilkinson, let's have a look. Publishing a book on USOs. Yeah, I am, Liam. Yes, definitely. Once again, Liam, I know it sounds like a feeble excuse, but it's time. I keep saying it, don't I? I must be proud of being 62. But I get out all over. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not always going to be able to do it. I'm not always going to get up at 4:30 in the morning and disappear till dinner time or till 2:00 and walking about all over the place. So I think there's time for books. Hopefully, if I'm still breathing, there'll be time for books then. I went to Speeton, guys, about 2 Sundays ago on an absolutely boiling hot day. And I took little dog and we walked across this boulder field. And good God, I thought I was going to fall down. I thought if I actually did fall down or break a leg here, I'm done for because there's nobody here. There's just nobody about. Mary knew where I'd gone, but
and does the tide come in as well? There.
Oh God, yeah. It was lowest tide. One of the lowest tides that year. I'd rang Andy Barmby and I said, "What time's low tide?" I wanted to see the submarine that washed up below Speeton and Bempton cliffs in 1921, and there's just the skeletal remains of it. And I wanted to go see it. I'd been once, but I wanted to go. Me little dog went, and it really is. It's hell walking across because it's not just rocky. They're as big as cars, some of these boulders, and you're just climbing amongst them. And he can't cope. He lost his nerve. Well, he got on top of one, and he won't come off it. I had to go back and carry him down and stuff, but. I love it. It was hard work. I should have picked I couldn't pick another day because it was lowest tide at year. But, it were red hot as well. So I came back. I don't know what colour I was. That's probably why I've been doing live streams looking that colour. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Not unexplained phenomena, is it, guys? Sorry. That's this.
Dean, exactly. I know of a lad and his missus who drove along Woodhead Pass over the Pennines at night and hit a ball of light and it marked the windscreen. Oh, cool.
Wow, that's incredible. And how many people, Dean, and everyone in chat know of somebody, or you might have experienced it yourself, where you're traveling and a sphere of light's been tailing your car, or you've seen it paralleling you. There was one on North Yorkshire moors where a car broke down and he had to walk to nearest little village. And there's a red sphere of light paralleling him as he's walking along moors. That's in first book. That's it must be terrifying not knowing what these things are.
Absolutely. Right. I think we're done, mate.
Are we?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've answered everything.
Okay.
So, by the way, I think we did say, didn't we? Because the 2-hour shows get on a bit. We don't mind doing the 2 hours, do it, as long as we're filling the 2 hours, and we'll just me and you will grab it on for as long as we can. But sometimes, just doing an hour, if if we've got a lot on, is kind of where it's at, I think, now, isn't it? So,
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. On Thursday, Truth Proof, I'll be talking to Malcolm Robinson, and I've told Malk it's for an hour. Now, if it runs over and Malk's happy, that's what it's going to do. But just like Chris has said, you know, because I love interaction with you guys, and some people I know personally, a lot of them I don't know. There's people from overseas, just some as Chris and Lorraine, who's done moderating tonight. Thanks, Lorraine. You know, you always do a great job. We've got Alison, we've got Lee, and our Gemma started doing it for Truth Proof. Really appreciate that. We don't need them really a lot of the time. We do. Please stay. But you know what I mean, don't you? The great bunch of people. So if it runs to 2 hours, I'm quite happy to do it. But sometimes an hour and you're exhausting questions. Yeah.
All right, mate. So we will be back next week, next Tuesday. We're back on with Joe Hickey Hall. So that'll be a brilliant show.
So come armed with your questions. For Joe.
Yes, come on with your questions, because obviously Joe's a font of knowledge really with where the fair's concerned. So I better get my head back into some research so that I'm up to speed.
So, so for those, just before we close it, I know I've cut across you. For those that don't know about Joe Hickey Hall, Forte's the Fae, and she's really knowledgeable. So if you've got an experience or you've got something you want to ask, that's the lady to ask.
Yeah, I think is it called the Modern Fairy Podcast that she does?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got quite a big following. So check that out. Actually, I've listened to some of them a few weeks back. Some really good ones on there. So yeah, check her out. And other than that, thank you everybody for watching again. Thanks Lorraine for moderating. Thanks for the donations, guys. I know we say it all the time. We really do appreciate that. And we shall see you all next week.
Good night, guys, and thank you. And good night, Dragonborn. Thinking about you.